Hi everyone, welcome to Why Does He Do That Wednesday with your girl Kimya. This week's topic is, why is he so wishy-washy? But before we get started with that, I need you to do me a big favor. Share this broadcast right now. I don't know how many Facebook friends you have, but I know a great deal of them are probably women. So if 1 in 3 women are affected by domestic violence, I guarantee that this video will help someone in your friend group. So share it now, okay? Thank you. All right, so I'm here to educate you all about domestic violence. A lot of times people will ask me, Kimya, why doesn't she just leave? But a better question to ask is, why won't he stop abusing? Okay, so I'm hoping that this series of videos will teach you, 1, how to identify the abuser, but it'll also teach you the weapons of his warfare. And I'm a firm believer that if we can identify the weapons, they won't prosper. His word says that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. His word didn't say the weapons wouldn't form. He just said they wouldn't prosper. So it's my job to teach you how to ID those weapons. Are you ready? All right. I'm going to be sharing tonight from my own experience, right? I grew up in a household where I saw domestic violence regularly. All of my relationships, well, I would say 99.5% of my relationships were abusive as a teenager and as a young woman. So needless to say, I've had a lot of experience with abuse. Not a good thing for me, but a great thing for you, okay? So I'm going to be sharing my experiences in this video. I'm also going to be sharing from books that I've read. Like, one of my favorite books is this one, Why Does He Do That by Lundy Bancroft. If you are an advocate, honey, you need this book, okay? It is my Bible for domestic violence. I'm a domestic violence nerd, so I read a lot of things dealing with domestic violence, but this one is amazeballs, and you need to get this book. It helps you understand the mind of the abuser, okay? I go to classes. I actually teach the men, yes, that perpetrate. Here in the state of Georgia, if you are convicted of domestic violence, you have to go to class for 12 to 24 weeks. And I love going to those classes, y'all. That's one of my favorite things to do. I actually just went to one on Sunday, and I love listening to the men's stories. I love sharing my stories with them because it helps me understand them better. And I figured I can't help women and children if I don't help the people who perpetrate. So I do that as well. And then also I share a lot of information in my own book, Born of Violence by Kimya Motley. You can find this book on Amazon or on KimyaMotley.com, because in it I talk about my road of abuse, how I started out as a child being sexually molested and how it ended as a grown woman getting married to the man that I thought was the man of my dreams, who ended up shooting me and my daughter multiple times in our heads. I could go on with that story, but the bottom line is God gets the glory. And if you want to know more about it, you got to get the book, okay? So in this broadcast, you'll hear me say he or him a lot. And it's not because women don't abuse, because I know that there are some abusive women out there. So don't inbox me with that. I know. But the bottom line is that women report it far more than men do. So for the purpose of this broadcast, if I'm talking about the abuser, I'm going to say he or him. If I'm talking about the victim, I'm going to say her. Okay? Thumbs up? All right. So abusers' tactics really don't vary much. They ultimately have the same goals. And number 1 is for power and control. He can't control very much else that goes on in his life, so he controls you. Okay. It's also to lower your self-esteem, to make you more dependent upon him, and to overall just to disrespect you, because that's what he's been taught he has to do in order to control his woman. All right. Tonight, we're going to talk about cycles of abuse. All right. And what that looks like. I created a little diagram here. Ooh, I got it upside down. All right. My cycle of abuse begins with the honeymoon stage. And then we talk about the tension building stage. I don't know if you can see that. And then we talk about the explosive stage. A lot of these cycle of abuse diagrams start with tension building, but I'm going to start with honeymoon because I believe all abusive relationships start and end with the honeymoon. Why? Because you wouldn't start dating him if he was some horrible, no good guy to begin with, right? He had to win you over or woo you with some kind of magnificent stuff. So it starts with the honeymoon. All right. Now we're going to take a deeper look at this. Honeymoon stage is what I call the hearts and flowers stage. Now, when you first start dating a person, you start dating his representative. It's like, will the real Mr. So-and-so please stand up? He's not showing up because that's not who you required him to be. For example, in my book, I talk about my first date with my ex-husband. And when I went out on this date, I told him all about everything that went wrong in my previous relationships and everything I wanted in my current relationships. And guess what he gave me? Just what I asked for. And he didn't show me any of the negative stuff that I said I didn't want. But was that really him? It wasn't. A lot of times I have women tell me, well, Kimya, he just changed over the course of the relationship. Baby, he didn't change. That's who he was all along. He just simply took off his mask. Okay. So now, once he's got you in the relationship, then you're going to go through what I call what is known as the tension building stage. That's what I have here in the green. All right. In the tension building stage, he's collecting all the negative points about you. Every little thing that you do wrong, he's collecting it in his database. He's collecting it in a bank of wrongdoing by you. Okay. This stage can last for weeks or months. And here's where you'll begin to feel like you're walking on eggshells. The verbal abuse will start here. The insults, he'll call you names. He'll call out every little thing that you're doing wrong. He gets upset about the children, how you're disciplining them, money, how you're spending it or how you're not giving it to him, sex, and household norms. Not getting enough sex or asking for too much sex or who's doing the cooking, the cleaning, and whether or not you're doing it right. You just feel like you can't do anything right, okay? At this point, he may also, some abusers elicit silent treatment at this point. He's just quiet and you don't know why. And you find yourself doing everything to keep him from acting out. So at this point, you'll start cooking more, cleaning more, dressing sexier, whatever it is that he said is wrong with you, you start trying to fix it in this stage. And honestly, you can't do it because you know all those movies when people break up and they go, it's really me, it's not you. Well, that's the case in this abuse. It's really him and it's not you. Okay, so there's nothing you can do about it. All right, now after your tension building stage, you have the explosion. That tension is building and building and building and building until it, boom, explodes, right? It's like a pot boiling over. And let me tell you this, no matter what he tells you, this is triggered by some external event. Could have happened at work, in the car on the way home, the children's diaper smells funny, or he doesn't like something on television, or some internal thing going on in him, and he just takes it out on you. All right. This is where you're going to have the physical abuse, the sexual abuse. Oh, let me show you my stage, the explosive stage here. You're going to have him breaking things and throwing objects, cursing, yelling, screaming at you. And then immediately when it's over, and because this one can last 24 to 72 hours, 1 to 3 days. That's how long the explosion can last. It's crazy, right? When it's over, He feels so sorry for what he's done. He's super apologetic. We're back in the honeymoon stage. What do you get? That's right. This is the hearts and flowers stage. He gets you flowers. He's taking you out. He's spending more time with you. He's more affectionate. You get those hugs and kisses and hand holding that you want. There's usually more sex involved. He's spending time with the children. All those things that you were asking him to do during that tension building stage, he's doing it now because he's trying to show you that that's not the man he is. Really is trying to show himself. But we'll talk more about that next week. Okay? So he's going to tell you that it's never going to happen again. And guess what? It is. Because after honeymoon, guess where we go back to? After honeymoon, we're back at tension building. That honeymoon stage can last days, weeks, months, but honestly, the longer you're with him, the shorter those honeymoon periods are until they're non-existent. Those of you that have been with your abuser for years, you probably don't even have a honeymoon period anymore. All right, so a lot of you have shared with me that, you know, you just want him to go back to being that wonderful man that he was during the honeymoon. But guess what? That's not who he is. And the longer you wait, the longer you're entrenched in this abusive relationship. Listen, the longer you stay with him, the more you feel like your self-worth is diminished, and you're going to feel like you're not worth anything more than what he's given you. You're not going to believe that you deserve a better relationship. It doesn't happen. The longer you're with him, the more chance he has to break down your support network. You don't have your friends with you. You don't have your family with you anymore. And you need that support. The longer that you're with him, the more he hurts you emotionally, and to the point that you're just worn out and you don't even have the energy to get out of that relationship. It's gone. So listen. He can change, and I talked about this through one of my other videos, but it's not going to happen with you. You can't help him do it. The only way he can get help is through counseling and through a family violence intervention program. Not counseling with you, because they try that. Counseling by themselves in a family violence intervention program. So if I'm talking to you, this video has triggered something in you and you are ready to get out of this relationship or just take a break to get help for yourself, do not tell him. Hear me. Do not tell him that you want to break up, that you're going to leave, you're going to do any of that. Don't tell him that, because I promise you that is the most dangerous time for you. You need a safety plan, and I often tell my women, this is like Harriet Tubman in the Underground Railroad. You're going to do it secretly. I want you to grab your computer, type in domesticshelters.org, and it's going to pull up all the shelters in your area. You're going to just put in your city and state or your zip code, and it's going to pull up all the shelters in your area. Now, what if you said, Kimya, I don't want to go into any shelter? That's fine. You don't have to make that decision right now, but at least call them up, because you need an advocate that can help you make the safety plan. Hear me. Repeat after me. Safety plan. You need an advocate to help you make a safety plan, to decide exactly what it is you're going to do and how you're going to do it. You need to get into a good support group. Remember when I told you the longer you're with him, the less support you have? Well, if you get into a support group, then you will know and be able to interact with other women that are going through the same stuff you're going through. Support groups are amazeballs, right? Because it's led by a good facilitator. You're talking with other women. You're encouraging each other, and you can decide for yourself what you want to do and how you want to do it. So get into a good support group. That domestic violence advocate can help you with that. And lastly, you need counseling. You do. If you don't get counseling, you're just carrying the negative baggage from one relationship into the next. And this is one of the things in our community, in the African American community, that we think is a negative thing. We do not want to get counseling. We feel like that means we're crazy or something. And let me tell you, if you don't get counseling, then you will be crazy. Bottom line. So get some counseling or therapy to deal with the negative emotions that you're feeling from the abuse, how to get some healthy behaviors in place so you can have that mutually satisfying relationship you've always wanted, okay? All right, so that's it. I love you all. That's all I wanted to talk to you about this week. I want you to tune in next week when we're going to look at that honeymoon stage a little more in depth and find out why it really has nothing to do with you and it's all about him, plus a few more surprises. Unless I change my mind and something happens over the week and I change the topic, but you're going to have to tune in to find out. So, once again, you want to know more about my story and how you can help other people or help yourself deal with domestic violence, you can get this at KimyaMotley.com or you can get it on Amazon.com. If you want to book me for a speaking event, you can go to KimyaMotley.com to inquire about how. I have a whole booking page just for you, and I'll go anywhere. All right. And lastly, we are trying to get this bill passed here in the state of Georgia called Marcy's Law. So it's going to be one of 4 different amendments that are listed on the bottom of the ballot in November. We're not exactly sure of the verbiage as of yet, but we know it's going to say something about crime victims' rights. Okay, so you're going to vote yes. You want crime victims' rights added to our Constitution. So once again, this is Kimya Motley. I will talk to you all again next week. Have a blessed week and talk to you later. Goodbye.